Chapter 1. The Beta Who Wanted More. Thea crouched low in the training circle, sweat trailing down her temple. The late summer sun bore down on her back like a brand, but she didn't flinch. Across from her, Beta trainer Ross barked, "Again!" She launched forward, fists raised, spinning into a kick meant to drop her opponent, only to be caught mid-motion and slammed, not gently, into the dirt. "Damn it!" she muttered, blinking through a haze of dust. Ross offered a hand. "You're fast, Thea, but not faster than doubt. Stop holding back." She took his hand reluctantly and stood, muscles aching, lungs burning, but a defiant spark glowing in her chest. Thea knew what they all thought. That she had no business training as Beta when she wasn't even ranked yet. That she should prepare herself to be mated off to a warrior, or worse, be Luna. She glanced toward the watchtower where they stood like carved statues, the triplet heirs of the Crescent Moon Pack, Alaric, Conri, and Kai. Identical in face, but nothing alike in energy. Alaric stood tall, arms crossed over his chest, unreadable as always. Dark brows furrowed, golden eyes watchful. He was the future alpha in name and nature. Stoic. Commanding. Dangerous in a quiet way. Beside him, Conri leaned casually on the railing, shirtless as usual, showing off battle scars like trophies. His wild curls framed a face that always seemed a second from laughter or rage, depending on the mood. Hot-tempered, loyal, untamable. And then there was Kai. The quiet one. Book in hand, glasses perched on his nose like some kind of scholar prince. He wore expression like armor, gentle, but impenetrable. Out of the three, Kai was the only one who smiled at her. Not the polite pack smile. A real one. Thea shook her head, trying to scrub their presence from her brain. They were the alphas in waiting. Untouchable. And she? She was the nobody trying to be their beta. No one said it out loud. But she knew what the whispers meant. She's wasting her time. She just wants one of them to choose her. She's not even a ranked wolf. They were right about one thing. She hadn't shifted yet. But they were dead wrong about the rest. She didn't want to be their Luna. She wanted to fight beside them. Later that evening, the pack house buzzed with energy. The triplet shift ceremony was only days away, and tonight, the pack seer was to perform the moon thread reading, an ancient tradition said to hint at one's fated mate. Thea stood at the edge of the gathering in a simple black dress, arms crossed, trying to disappear. Planning to sneak away before the drama starts? She turned. His voice was soft, like the first pages of a favorite book. Calm. Measured. And far too perceptive. "I don't believe in the moon thread," she said. He arched a brow. "You don't believe in destiny? I believe in training, skill, loyalty, not glowing strings in the air." Kai tilted his head, studying her. "I think you don't believe because you're afraid of what yours might show." She looked away. "Afraid? No. I just don't want to be anyone's Luna. That's not who I am." A beat passed. His voice dropped lower. What if someone doesn't want a Luna to serve them, but a Luna to fight beside them? Thea's heart did a dangerous flutter. Then he should look somewhere else. Kai smiled that soft, devastating smile and said nothing. The seer, a blind woman with silver-tattooed hands, moved to the platform at the center of the gathering. "The threads of fate will be revealed. Step forward, alphas in waiting." Alaric was first. Then Conri. Then Kai. As the moonlight glistened over the ritual bowl, tendrils of silver light rose from their hearts, swirling and darting like fireflies. The crowd gasped. 3 threads, glowing faintly, flickered into one direction. All 3, pointing toward the same person. Thea. A hush fell. Someone whispered, "That's not possible." Thea took a step back. "No. No, that's wrong." The seer's mouth curved in a cryptic smile. "Not wrong, child. Rare." Alaric stepped forward. "We haven't shifted yet. Nothing's confirmed." Kai looked directly at Thea. "But it makes sense." Conri whistled low. "All 3 of us. You must be some kind of goddess." Thea's breath caught. That word again. Goddess. Her grandmother once told her she was born under a blood moon eclipse, rare, sacred. But it was just a story. A bedtime myth. Now, 3 threads pointed to her. 3 future alphas. And a growing darkness loomed on the borders of their territory. "I don't want this," Thea said, voice cracking. "I just want to be your beta." Alaric spoke then, firm and low, his eyes burning like the moon. "And we want you. Not because fate says so. Because we see you. Whether you're our Luna, beta, or something we can't name yet." The seer interrupted softly, "You are the moon's chosen girl. Whether you accept it or not, destiny is already walking toward you. And it's wearing teeth." Chapter 2. Secrets of the Moon Shrine. Thea didn't sleep that night. Even with the heavy drapes pulled shut, she could feel the moon tugging at her bones, like it wanted to whisper something only she could hear. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw those threads, silver, soft, and terrifying, linking her to Alaric, Conri, and Kai. 3 futures. 1 girl. A complete cosmic joke. She shoved the thought away and focused on her fists, wrapped in cloth, already raw from training. That was something she could control. Her body. Her will. The sun was barely up when she made her way to the pack clearing, only to find someone already there. Conri, shirt off, sweat glistening down his chest as he slammed his fists into a practice post with enough force to splinter it. He didn't stop when she approached. "You here to tell me you're not our Luna again?" he grunted. Thea frowned. "I didn't say I'm not. I said I don't want to be." "Same thing." She crossed her arms. "Do you want a mate who follows you around like a lost puppy, sighing and swooning?" Conri smirked. "Hell no. I want a Luna who'd punch me in the jaw if I needed it." He turned, eyes flashing. "And it drives me insane that you might be the one the moon picked, and you're still running from it." "I'm not running. You are. You think wanting something makes you weak. But maybe it's okay to want us." Thea's heart pounded, her voice dropping. "Is it okay to want all 3 of you?" Silence fell like a dropped blade. Conri stepped forward slowly, heat radiating off him like a furnace. "It is. You know why." "Why?" "Because we're not like other wolves. We were born together. We were made to lead together. And maybe, just maybe, we were made to love the same woman together too." Her breath caught. And then the air shifted. Literally. A low howl split the sky. The moon was rising, early, too early. But it didn't matter. Tonight was the night. That evening, the entire pack gathered around the sacred stones, a circle of massive ancient rocks carved with runes and bathed in moonlight. Thea stood at the edge, heart pounding, as the triplets removed their shirts and stepped into the center. This was the first shift, a rite of passage for young wolves, but for alphas? It was something more. It was the first time their wolf would speak to them. The air shimmered as the moon reached its apex. Alaric arched back, bones snapping, muscles expanding. Conri dropped to his knees with a snarl, his form shaking violently. Kai let out a quiet gasp as his glasses fell to the grass. And then it happened. 3 enormous wolves burst from their human skins. Alaric, sleek, pitch black with gold-tipped fur and glowing eyes like fire. Conri, massive, sandy-furred with streaks of red and an aura of pure, wild fury. Kai, silver-gray, elegant and lithe, his gaze wise and ancient even in beast form. The pack howled in awe. But Thea didn't. Because all 3 wolves turned at once. And locked eyes with her. Then they growled, not in warning, but in recognition. Thea stumbled back. "No. No, no, no." They bounded toward her, shifting back to human form mid-run. Naked. Glorious. Radiating power. And still, their eyes glowed with the wolf's gaze. "You felt it too," Alaric said, voice hoarse. "Your scent lit up our wolves," Kai added. "It's you," Conri growled. "All 3 of us. You're our mate." Thea's world tilted. "That's not possible." Alaric reached for her. She stepped back. "No." The trees exploded. Dark figures, mutated rogue wolves, burst from the forest. Their eyes were dead white. Their fur patchy, skin blackened with some kind of rot. The Shadow Alpha's monsters. Panic erupted in the clearing. The pack fought back. But they weren't ready. Thea's blood roared as a rogue lunged at a child near the edge. Without thinking, she leapt between them, arms raised. And something exploded from her hands. A blinding silver wave. The rogue disintegrated mid-air. Everyone froze. She turned, shaking. Her palms glowed faintly with moonlight. What did I just do? Kai looked stunned. You cast a protective barrier. That's impossible. Alaric stepped forward, his face grim. You're not just our mate, Thea. Conri nodded, eyes wide. You're something more. A whisper of wind stirred the leaves. The seer's voice echoed in Thea's mind. You are the moon's chosen, and it's wearing teeth. Chapter 3. Bound by Blood and Desire. The smell of burnt fur and blood still clung to the clearing. The bodies of the rogue wolves had been hauled off. Most of them had disintegrated when Thea's silver blast hit. The rest were already rotting, their flesh turning a sickly black that even the healers couldn't explain. Thea sat alone on the boulder near the river, her hands curled into fists, shaking. They were all watching her now. Not just the triplets. Everyone. As if she were some weapon wrapped in skin, about to go off again. And the worst part? She didn't know if they were wrong. You didn't eat. Kai's voice was soft, breaking her silence. She didn't turn to him. Not hungry. He moved closer anyway, setting down a plate of grilled meat and roasted vegetables on the rock beside her. For a long moment he didn't speak. Just stood there in the hush of the forest, his presence comforting and maddening all at once. Finally, Thea whispered, I didn't mean to do it. I know. I didn't even think. I just reacted. Kai sat beside her. Instinct is often where truth lives. She let out a sharp breath. That's poetic. He smiled faintly. I've been told I'm unbearable when I wax philosophical. Thea laughed before she could stop herself. Then frowned. This shouldn't be happening. Any of it. Your shift. The threads. The magic. She met his gaze. Why me? Kai was silent for a moment. Then he took her hand, gently, like she might break. When I shifted, he said, my wolf didn't roar. He didn't howl. He whispered. What did he say? Kai leaned closer. He said, there she is. Thea's chest squeezed. Kai's hand moved to her cheek, thumb brushing her skin like he'd memorized it in another life. I don't need fate to want you, Thea. I've wanted you for years. And before she could speak, before logic could ruin it, he kissed her. It wasn't a firestorm. It was a sunrise. Soft, slow, reverent. Like he was afraid she'd vanish if he pushed too fast. But she didn't vanish. She leaned into him. Let him deepen it. Let his hands explore the shape of her waist, the curve of her spine. And when she pulled away, breathless and flushed, he smiled. Still think you're not our Luna. I still think you're dangerous, she whispered. Kai chuckled. Then maybe I'll just keep kissing you until you're not afraid of me. That night, Thea couldn't sleep again. Her skin felt too hot. Her thoughts too loud. When she closed her eyes, she saw glowing runes, silver eyes, wolves with burning mouths. She gave up and climbed from her bed, wandering out toward the old prayer stones, the place where wolves once communed with the moon goddess. She barely touched the center stone when her vision snapped into darkness. But she wasn't asleep. She was somewhere else. A great field of stars stretched around her, and in the center stood a woman cloaked in shadow and moonlight, her face hidden beneath a silver veil. You were not supposed to wake so soon, the figure said. Thea stepped back. Who are you? Selene, goddess of the moon, of fate, of wolves. Thea's blood ran cold. This isn't real. It is. And you are my vessel, born under a triple blood moon, marked with the seal of the silver flame. I don't want to be a vessel, Thea snapped. I want to be a beta. To fight. To matter because I earned it. Selene's laughter was soft and terrifying. You think power is something to earn. Power is something you're given, and something you must choose to carry. The stars blinked out. And Thea woke on the grass, hands glowing faintly silver again. The next morning, Thea found herself summoned to the Alpha's private war room. Alaric was already pacing when she arrived. His jaw tight. His aura tense. Sit. She didn't. I'm not one of your warriors, Alaric. You're not, he said. You're something else. And that's what scares me. Thea blinked. You're afraid of me? No, he growled. I'm afraid of losing you. That stopped her cold. He stepped close. When I shifted, my wolf didn't feel calm. He didn't feel peace. He felt like he'd been struck by lightning. By you. He stopped just short of touching her. You're everything I was taught not to want. And everything I do. Thea's voice was rough. Then why do you push me away? Because I want to kiss you so badly it hurts. And once I do, there's no going back. She stared up at him. Then don't go back. Alaric's lips crashed into hers, rougher than Kai's, desperate, claiming. Where Kai kissed like a dream, Alaric kissed like war. And Thea let him. Let herself fall, for a moment, into that heat. Into the hunger in his touch, the strength of his arms, the whispered growl in his throat when her fingers tangled in his hair. But just as quickly, she broke it. Breathless. I can't, not like this. Not yet. Alaric stepped back, nodding once, jaw clenched. When you're ready. That evening, pack scouts returned with news that chilled everyone to the bone. Another allied pack had been wiped out. No survivors. Carved into the Alpha's body were the words, "The goddess's vessel belongs to me." The Shadow Alpha had spoken. And he was coming for Thea. Chapter 4. A pack divided, a love united. Thea stood before the altar of the moonstone, bathed in silver light. The sacred rock shimmered faintly, responding to her presence as if it recognized her, like it had been waiting for her all along. Her palms glowed. Again. She clenched her fists to hide it. Behind her, the triplets stood silent, forming a triangle of power around her. Their wolves were agitated. She could feel it in the air. An anxious buzz. A growing tide. The whole pack felt like it was on the edge of something ancient and dangerous. What does it mean? Thea asked, turning to Kai. Kai adjusted his glasses, scanning the old scroll in his hands. This is the ancient bond ritual. It's only recorded in 3 scrolls across the continent, and one mentions a phenomenon called the Luna Trium. A singular Luna who is soul-bound to 3 alphas. Her power must be distributed through a shared mark. Thea blinked. A shared mark? As in, I have to mark all 3 of you? Yes, Alaric said. His voice was low. Careful. And you have to mark us back. Conri's eyes gleamed. Sounds hot. Thea threw him a look. You would say that. But her pulse was racing. Because deep down, the idea didn't scare her. It felt right. That night, Thea found herself standing in the sacred circle with Alaric. Just him. They had decided to mark one at a time, give the magic space to settle. The air buzzed as he approached, shirtless, his chest rising and falling slowly. He held out a dagger, ancient and beautiful, its blade glimmering silver blue in the moonlight. I'm supposed to draw blood, he said. Just enough for the mark to accept you. Thea nodded. Do it. He stepped close. Their bodies almost touching. But Alaric paused, eyes locking with hers. This isn't just magic to me. I need you to know that. Thea's heart thundered. I know. He touched the blade to his palm and drew a clean line, then extended his bleeding hand toward her. Thea pressed her palm to his, and their combined blood shimmered like liquid moonlight. Alaric's head fell back. A low growl escaped his throat. A glowing rune, shaped like a crescent with 3 points, etched itself into his chest over his heart. And then it appeared on Thea too. Lower. Just above her navel. Alaric's breath hitched when he saw it. He touched it with reverence. Mine, he whispered, before he kissed her, hard and deep. Thea melted into him, heat crashing over her like a tidal wave. Their clothes vanished in a blur of kisses and frantic hands, and then she was beneath him on the temple stone floor, his body over hers like armor and fire all at once. He worshipped her slowly, with reverence and restraint, until her moans filled the temple and the mark on her stomach blazed brighter than the moon itself. And when he finally slid inside her, it wasn't just physical. It was spiritual. bound, claimed, chosen. When it was over, they lay tangled, her head on his chest. "You're stronger than you know," he whispered. Thea closed her eyes, basking in the glow. "I'm starting to believe it." The next day, it was Conri's turn. But before the ritual could begin, the council interrupted. Elder Tolan stepped forward, his face twisted in disgust. "This is blasphemy." Alaric stood firm. "She is our mate. You felt the magic. Saw the marks. She's dangerous." Tolan barked. "She incinerated rogues with light. She communes with the moon. You think the Shadow Alpha's looking for her by accident?" "She's the reason we're still alive," Conri snapped, stepping between Thea and the Elder. "You'd rather bend to fear than adapt to fate." "She must be stripped of her beta training and confined," Tolan announced, "until we understand what she is." Thea stepped forward, hands glowing again. "I'm not what I am by choice. But I'll never be anyone's prisoner." The room pulsed with power as her eyes lit silver. Alaric put an arm around her, glaring at the council. "You lock her up, and you lose us." Tolan scowled. "All three of you would betray your lineage for a girl?" "She's not just a girl," Kai said quietly. "She's the goddess's vessel." Later that night, after the council had been dismissed and the threat postponed, Thea slipped away to the river's edge where Conri was waiting, shirt off, legs dangling in the water. "You sure you're ready for this?" he asked, tossing a pebble across the water. Thea smiled. "Only if you are." He turned, and this time there was no teasing. Just fire. "Mark me." She stepped close, took the dagger, and cut her palm. He did the same. Their hands met, and the glow surged through both of them, hotter than before. The rune carved into his skin, right over his ribs. And then Conri grabbed her waist and yanked her into his lap with a growl. His mouth claimed hers before she could breathe, and they were kissing, clawing, gasping in the moonlight. Conri was wild, raw heat, untamed hunger. He worshipped her like a storm, like he was trying to make the world jealous. When she cried out his name, he kissed her harder. "You belong to me too," he whispered against her throat. And she did. That night, Thea dreamed of fire. But not destruction. Rebirth. In her dream, a silver phoenix rose from a bed of ash, 3 stars orbiting its head. When she woke, her skin was hot. Too hot. Thea ran to the temple, to the moonstone. And when she placed her hands against it, it spoke. Not in words. In visions. A battlefield. Burning. The Shadow Alpha, twisted and monstrous, stood before her. Thea screamed as energy rushed through her like lightning. And when she opened her eyes again, she was glowing head to toe. Kai, Alaric, and Conri ran in seconds later. They stopped cold. Because above her floated a glowing sigil of the moon goddess. And Thea's voice, echoing and divine, spoke a single truth. "I remember who I am." Chapter 5. The Battle for the Luna. The moon bled red in the sky. A warning. An omen. A call. Thea stood in her Luna ceremony robes, white silk edged in silver thread, a delicate moon-shaped circlet crowning her dark curls. Her skin glowed faintly, but it wasn't magic this time. It was purpose. All around her, the pack had gathered in reverent silence. For the first time in 100 years, a Luna was to be crowned not after mating, not after bearing heirs, but by divine right. Thea was more than a Luna. She was a symbol, a storm in human skin. And yet, her hands still trembled as she reached for the ceremonial chalice. Kai stepped forward first, robes flowing, a silver mark now visible over his heart. "I pledge mind and soul," he said, voice steady. "In knowledge, in loyalty, in endless love." He drank from the chalice, then kissed Thea's hand. Conri came next, wearing a half-grin that didn't hide the heat in his eyes. "I pledge body and strength. In fury, in passion, in undying protection." He drank, then kissed her palm, lingering. Alaric was last. His voice didn't tremble. It never did. "I pledge heart and power. In honor, in devotion, in forever." He drank, then pressed a kiss to her brow. Then it was Thea's turn. She lifted the chalice, her voice echoing across the clearing. I pledge myself not by fate, but by choice. To lead with you. To fight beside you. To love, even if it destroys me." She drank, and the cup shattered in her hand. Gasps filled the night. But her blood didn't spill. Instead, the silver runes on her body flared, glowing brighter than the moon, and for the first time, her mark, the mark of the goddess, appeared fully formed on her chest. A glowing crescent moon cradling 3 stars. A Luna Trium. And just as the crowd erupted into cheers, the sky cracked. A boom. Then silence. Then screaming. The barrier around the pack had shattered. War came in a blur of fur, flame, and shadows. The rogues were no longer wolves. They were corrupted monsters, bigger, faster, possessed by something darker than instinct. They tore through the outer defenses in seconds. Thea surged forward, power flowing like a river through her veins. "Form the shield wall," Alaric barked, already shifting mid-stride. Conri was gone in a blur, tackling 2 rogues before they reached the children. Kai stood beside Thea, casting wards and runes from his glowing hands like ribbons of energy. But it wasn't enough. They were everywhere. One rogue, bigger than the rest, leapt at Thea, and she met it with a blast of silver flame that melted it mid-air. Blood soaked the earth. Screams split the sky. Thea heard the howl too late. Conri, bleeding. Kai, trapped in a magical snare. Alaric, fighting 3 at once. And in the center of it all, he appeared. The Shadow Alpha. 10 feet tall, fur black as pitch, eyes glowing violet, teeth like daggers. His voice was a growl layered with hundreds. "You are mine, goddess blood." Thea stepped forward. "I'm not yours. I never was." "You carry the last divine flame," he hissed. "Give it to me, and I will let them live." He waved a clawed hand, and suddenly, Kai screamed. Thea turned in horror. He was writhing on the ground, blood pouring from his mouth, veins glowing red. "No. No, no, no. I can kill them all," the Shadow Alpha whispered. "You're strong, but you're not a god. Not yet." Thea dropped to her knees beside Kai. He was fading. "I can fix this," she whispered. Kai grabbed her wrist weakly. Don't trade yourself." "I'm not trading. I'm claiming." Thea closed her eyes, and unleashed everything. Power burst from her like an eclipse, a silver shockwave that blasted back the entire field. The rogues disintegrated. The Shadow Alpha staggered. But Kai didn't move. She cradled him, screaming his name. Nothing. And then, the moonlight shimmered. Time stopped. A soft voice filled her head. "Celine, one choice remains, child. You can restore his soul. But you will lose your power. Forever." Thea's heart cracked. To save Kai, she'd lose her goddess-given gifts. The thing that could stop the Shadow Alpha once and for all. But if she didn't, she'd lose him. And maybe her entire self. She looked at Kai's face. Her gentle, brilliant Kai. And made her choice. Power surged from her body, bright and final. The glowing runes faded. Her veins stopped shimmering. The divine magic fled her like wind through a shattered window. And Kai's chest rose. He gasped. Then blinked. "Thea." She smiled through tears. "You're okay." He pulled her close, pressing his face to her neck. "You gave it up," he whispered. "I gave it to you." When the dust settled, the pack began to rebuild. The Shadow Alpha had been wounded, driven off, but not destroyed. Thea's powers were gone. But her place was secured. The people no longer whispered about fate. They chose her. Because she chose them. That night, back in their private quarters, the triplets surrounded her. Soft hands, warm lips, silent reverence. They undressed her slowly. Each kiss was a thank you. Each touch, a vow. She loved them with every part of her. Not as a goddess. Not as a chosen one. Just as Thea. Chapter 6. Moonrise and Magic Reborn. Days passed. Then weeks. The Shadow Alpha had retreated, but he wasn't gone. Scouts reported movements in the Deadlands. Packs were vanishing. Whole bloodlines, erased. And Thea? She was adjusting. The world seemed quieter without her powers. The divine sense that had once burned in her bones was now silent. She felt ordinary, and she feared it made her a burden. But not to them. "Stop thinking you're less," Alaric whispered one night, fingers threading through hers. "You didn't lose power. You gave it meaning." They never let her grieve alone. Conri cooked for her. Kai read to her. Alaric sparred with her daily. "You don't need magic to break a nose," he'd say with a smirk. Still, she dreamed of the Shadow Alpha. Of fire. Of screams. Of the moment she might fail again. Until, one cold morning, the goddess returned. She stood in Thea's dream, radiant in a robe of stars. "You gave up the power," Selene said, voice like moonlight. "But you haven't lost your gift." "I don't understand," Thea whispered. "There is a deeper magic. One not of flame or force, but of soul." The goddess raised a hand, and Thea saw it, a new mark forming over her heart. A glowing triad, wolf, star, and flame. "You are moonbound," Selene said. "Bound by choice. By love. You are the first of your kind." Thea woke with tears on her face, and a soft glow in her veins. That day, the Shadow Alpha returned. He tore through the outer barrier with dark wolves and corrupted mages at his side. The earth shook. The triplets met him head-on, blades gleaming, eyes blazing. Thea stood between them, unarmored, unafraid. "I don't sense her gift anymore," the Shadow Alpha sneered. "She's hollow." "No," Thea said, stepping forward. "I'm full. Of everything that matters." The corrupted wolves lunged. But the pack was ready. And this time, Thea didn't unleash divine magic. She led. She roared orders. She helped Kai unbind fallen warriors, guided Conri with tactics, shielded Alaric with her bare body more than once. And when the Shadow Alpha cornered her alone in the old moon shrine, she didn't flinch. "You think love can stop me?" he snarled. "No," she whispered. "But loyalty can." And behind him, the rogue wolves, once corrupted, turned. Eyes cleared. Spines straightened. One by one, they bowed to her. "What?" the Shadow Alpha choked. "They were never yours," Thea said. "You used pain. I used love." And then the triplets were there. Alaric's blade struck first, silver and true. Conri's fists followed, fury and fire. Kai whispered an ancient incantation, locking the Alpha's soul in a crystal shard. And Thea placed her hand on the shard. Rest. And for the first time, the Shadow Alpha was truly still. Peace. A week later, the four of them stood on the rebuilt balcony of the Luna's quarters, overlooking the valley below. Wolves trained. Children laughed. The air was clean. And in her heart, Thea felt it. She was home. Alaric handed her a wine glass. "You changed the world without lifting a claw," he said, lips brushing her ear. Conri came from behind, arms slipping around her waist. "You made broken wolves whole again." Kai pulled her close, resting his forehead against hers. "You gave me back my life." Tears welled in her eyes. "I didn't do it alone." "You never will," Alaric said. They guided her to the massive shared bed, kissing away every doubt. Clothing dropped like leaves in autumn. Alaric's hands were rough and reverent. Conri's mouth claimed her neck with hunger and love. Kai traced every inch of her with trembling awe. Together, they worshipped her. Not as a goddess, but as their Luna. Their equal. Their heart. Thea slept between them, marked not by magic, but by devotion. And above them, the moon rose bright and full. It no longer wept red. It smiled. Because the werewolf race had been saved. By a girl who thought she was ordinary. The end.